Hello guys, welcome to another part of learning about Agentic AI and MCPs. So this is the continuation of the part 1 that I did last week. So today I'm going to go a little contradictory with the last video that I made. So in the last video I was evaluating how we can create a MCP server that does the task of the Terraform for us. So I developed that entire MCP server using Python codes. And what that MCP server was doing is like it is kind of taking the inputs from the user, what kind of resource they want to create in the Azure, and then running all the Terraform and the Azure commands to create those resources and verify whether those resources are created. But then after doing that, I was thinking, do we really need to create a specific MCP server for this task? Because you see, we have an Agentic AI framework already, right? And that framework can talk with the terminal. And all the tools that were being used there were actually present in the terminal. Like, for example, Terraform, Azure CLI. Then if you integrate it with any GitHub repositories, then the Git commands, all those things can be run from the terminal. So if we can give the access of the terminal to the Agentic AI framework, then do we specifically need a secondary MCP server for that? Because MCP server makes things more complex for us. Like there is certain particular version of Terraform that will be configured with that MCP server. And if that version changes, we have to again reconfigure those things into the MCP server. But with the Terraform and with the Agentic framework using the Terraform directly from the terminal, it is not that kind of thing. Like the generative AI knows what is the latest version of the Terraform and it can install as and when it is needed. And also think of certain examples like any organization that is already having a Terraform framework. So when I say Terraform framework, what I mean is like suppose it has got a module structure, like there are child modules to it, there are root modules to it, and it is using those from years to deploy infrastructure. And now with this MCP servers coming in place, we have to design the MCP server to be in sync with those module structure, which makes it more complex. So instead, if we have the agentic framework running and it can communicate with a server, with a terminal, and all those directory structure in it, so we don't need a specific MCP server to do this task. We can directly let the agentic framework communicate with those details, like the directory structure of the modules of the Terraform and the terminal, and do the things for us. And it will be much more easier for those kind of scenarios where in the organization they are already using a certain kind of framework. So plugging in with that becomes more simple. So in a nutshell, the gist is we have to keep things simple. Like wherever there is no need for any complex MCP servers, let's just keep it simple and let's see what are the capabilities of the Agentic AI framework, whether it can do things with all the tools that it already has access to. And if it can, then I think we should better stick to that, because it makes the process more simple and more like it can integrate in a better way to the existing structures. So that's what we are trying to test here. Let's go into the Visual Studio Code. So here we are in the Cloud Code open in the Visual Studio Code terminal. Let's try to run a prompt. Can you create an Azure resource group named RGTG01 using Terraform? So what we are doing here is we are asking it to create a resource group in Azure, but instead of using any MCP server, I'm straight away asking it to go ahead and use the Terraform. So what we are expecting here is like it should actually in the terminal, use the Terraform commands to create the resource group, and it should create the resource group TF files also. So let's see if that's what it is doing. Okay, so now as expected, it created the to-do list, and it is also checking the existing project configuration to find if there are any resource group that already has been created with the name. So you can see like how well it integrates with the structure. If you have like, if you already have a folder structure, it will integrate with that, and it will try to modify things. So now it is trying to create the resource group name with what I wanted it to create, like rgtg01, and it is initializing the Terraform command, like it is running the Terraform init command in the background. So this brings to the scenario where I said like there are organizations that are using Terraform modules, pre-existing Terraform modules, and how we can integrate it with the generative AI, with the agentic AI framework seamlessly. So I think this way it works much more better way, because we don't want to unnecessarily spend time in developing a MCP server that has to be customized according to the different types of module structure that these different organizations are having. So as you can see, it is now running the Terraform plan, and it is then running the Terraform apply. So I'm pretty sure within certain, like once it is deployed, it will give a confirmation also, like this particular resource group is created. So yeah, it is working as expected. We will just check in the Azure whether it created that or not. So let's just wait for some time. And also a wonderful thing about Cloud Code is like the way it communicates with you. It shows the token utilizations. It creates a structured to-do list which shows what the agent is doing in the backend, like what is the step-by-step approach of the agent. And that gives us a wonderful picture, like how the generative AI thinks and how it works. So that's really nice. So we can see it has been created. So let's just go to the Azure and let's refresh it once. Yeah, it is created. So that's a we can actually then create the resources in Azure without even having a specific MCP server. It's just that we need the genetic AI, the agentic AI framework to communicate with the terminal, and it should have the particular tools to communicate it with the terminal. So let's also run a command like can you check the Azure and list all the resource groups that are in East US. So here it is running a query, and again there is no MCP needed in between. So it is directly running the query into the Azure, and as you can see, it is showing me all the resource groups that are created in the East US region. And also it has mentioned the one that we just created. So it keeps a track also, like what all resource it is creating, because everything is going under this folder where we are creating, and you can see it has got the TF files and everything. So if we want to integrate a module structure, to it, we can do that, and it can follow a module structure where it can create all these resources. So that being said, I think like wherever we don't need an MCP server, we should not use that. But that does not mean that the MCPs are bad or we should stop using that thing. Alternatively, no, MCPs are really great. I am using a lot of MCPs in my tools. Like I have this Context 7 and all. These are really great. Like you can use them to scrape waves. You can use them to have the latest details on the code bases that you're working on. But for certain scenarios like this Terraform deployment, for example, I think it will be much more better if we stick to the generative AI directly communicating with the terminal using the Agentic AI framework, and that way it makes things more simpler and much more manageable. Um, but still, I will keep on researching, and I will encourage every one of these viewers to research on Agentic AI and what are the possibilities. Soon I will be coming up with new videos. You can see I've got some new setups as well going on, because I figured out in my last video the audios was not coming that good. So yeah, I try to make it better. Hopefully it works. We will see to that. Just keep supporting. Let's grow together. Thank you.